John Diddy Combs. Of course, we know that he is currently in jail while he's fighting a sex trafficking and racketeering case. But there's been some new things that have come out in this conversation. There was evidence, prosecutors say, were found in Diddy's jail cell that suggests that he has influenced a witness in his New York case. So they say that he has tried to seek to avoid federal detection by using three-way calls and other inmates' phone access code. Again, all in an attempt to witness tamper with witnesses. So this is what the prosecution is saying. To have just a bit more context about what's happening in this case, I want to bring in legal affairs journalist Meghann Cuniff. Meghann, thank you so much for being with us here on Live Now. Of course, we've been talking over the last few weeks and months since Diddy got arrested about the things that are the ins and outs of this case. Several things have happened already, and now they're saying witness tampering allegedly attempted from Diddy.
Yes, and this is prosecutors fighting back against his latest request for bail. This is them laying out all the reasons they don't think he should be released from jail on bail. And the witness tampering and the rule violations going on inside jail is a big reason why. His lawyers acted really fast on this. This morning, they filed something raising concern about the fact that prosecutors apparently have gotten hold of what his lawyers described as attorney-client privileged information. And this is the notes that investigators, people with the Bureau of Prisons, seized from Diddy's jail cell during a sweep within the last few weeks. And his lawyers raised questions in their filing. They called for an evidentiary hearing, and they wanted to know how prosecutors got a hold of this. But prosecutors responded pretty quickly. By the end of the day, they had filed their own opposition to this motion for an evidentiary hearing, saying that's not necessary, and that they got this information by subpoenaing the Bureau of Prisons for any information about Diddy, and this is part of their ongoing grand jury investigation. So there was quite a tit for tat today over this bail opposition that had been filed late Friday night. Diddy's lawyers really raised some concerns that, you know, attorney-client privileged information is being violated here. And prosecutors said that they have taken steps to prevent anything like that by actually having a filter team review the information for possible attorney-client privilege before it goes to the prosecutors on the case.
This is really interesting, Meghann, and I want to quote something that happened from that filing that happened by the prosecutors. They say that this, quote, the clear interference is that the defendant's goal is to blackmail victims and witnesses either into silence or to provide testimony that is helpful to his defense, an allegation that is more often seen in mob trials or Mexican mafia-style cases. I mean, that's some pretty intense language there as they're trying to, again, in this case, paint Diddy as the type of person who could run an organization like this. And when you're talking about the racketeering portion of that case, I think this all plays in.
Yeah, and right now there's just so much we don't know about the nature of what exactly his communications were, because there's a lot of things redacted in the public filings. And of course, prosecutors have heard the jail calls that he's actually made. We have not heard those. The judge is going to have access to those when this eventually goes to a hearing, which is going to happen later this month. There's going to be an evidentiary hearing. So I think we could expect those calls to be played perhaps in court.
And if they are played in court, you said the judge will hear it. Will we be able to get that at the same time? Or is that something that we might have to wait on if they decide to take this full case to trial? I mean, we still don't know. Again, this was about a bail hearing. Diddy could still, I mean, at this point, try to take this all the way to trial or accept a plea deal if it's offered.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely looking like a case that's going to go to trial. And the biggest thing is this superseding indictment that prosecutors haven't guaranteed it, but they've all but guaranteed it. And they said in their filing today that they're working on another grand jury investigation. So I think the May trial date is going to go out the window, but I do think we're going to see some more activity here soon in terms of a superseding indictment, possible co-defendants. I mean, prosecutors have really said that there could be a lot more coming.
And we do know, again, there's so many witnesses that have already been listed in this, potential witnesses, I should say, have been listed in this case. When you're talking about this way of tampering, would this add on to additional charges as well that he would be facing, or would this just maybe hinder or affect what he's able to do while he's currently in custody at this moment?
I wouldn't expect to see any criminal charges from this. It could go that route. I mean, we hear the words witness tampering, we think crime, but when you read through how couched the language is and the way prosecutors are wording this, I don't think they're anywhere near ready to try to do criminal charges against this. But this is a very solid argument against his request for bail, and I think that's the focus on this. And I think the overall criminal case is they have a lot to work with there. And I wouldn't expect to see witness tampering charges just based on what we've seen here with a note, with that kind of thing. But that all remains to be seen.
And again, I think it's interesting. Meghann, we talked about this a few months ago. Again, $50 million is what he wanted to put in as a part of his bail package, including something, again, to the estate of his home that he had at Star Island in Miami as well. So he wants out of jail. It's not looking good at this point. But again, they're still pushing. And is that surprising to you at this point that they're still pushing?
No, not surprising. He has quite a legal team and he has a lot of resources. And I was just remarking to somebody the other day that I'm sure his lawyers will find ways to spend his resources. But they had a real quick response to this, and their bail motion really raises some. Some new issues, and a lot of it's redacted, but I think I think they're doing what they need to do, and we'll see how this plays out at the hearing.
Absolutely. Meghann Cuniff, legal affairs journalist, here just to help us break down a bit more about the new things that are coming out in the Sean Diddy Combs case. Of course, a case that we've been following and will continue to follow right here on Live Now. Thanks, Meghann.
Thank you.
All right, again, here on Live Now, we've been talking with some of those, again, people that are just able to give us more context when it comes to cases like this. They can be so complicated and have several different steps in between. So we want to keep you as well informed as possible. And before we go to